Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the most inspirational show on the face of this earth. Welcome. Today, I am speaking about resilience. I am speaking about not giving up. I am speaking about taking the negative that has happened to us and turning it into a positive. As they say, when you're given lemons, what do? You make lemonade out of it. One of the things that I'm enjoying about this show is that it keeps me looking for stories that inspire, story that gives us strength, stories that keeps us going in the face of the most difficult circumstances, stories that keep us going no matter how bad things are in our life. So I'm usually embroiled in looking for the next story, researching it, understanding what is going on with whoever I'm going to interview. And today's story is one that has touched my heart from the very beginning. It has wrapped me up in sorrow as well as in pure joy and resilience. Today, my guest is Louise Russo, a woman whose story I can't seem to let go of. No matter where I go, whenever I'm ready to tell stories of strength, positivity, tragedy, I always come back, and she never fails. So, ladies and gentlemen, instead of talking too much, let me introduce our next guest, Miss Louise Russo, a woman of faith, a woman of strength, a woman of resilience, and a woman of power.
Hi, Anna.
Hello, Louise. How are you?
I'm doing great. So wonderful to see you after all these years. You look beautiful as
Yes.
usual.
Thank
And,
you.
thank you so much for having me on the show. I really, really appreciate.
I am honored to have you on the show. You have to know that your story, I've been with your story from the beginning. And every time it comes up, whenever I'm looking at stories of triumph, of tragedy, of resilience, of faith, of hope, and then of impact, you're one of the people that I think about. So we're going to start with you. I usually like people to tell us a bit about themselves, right? What they want people to know so that I'm not diluting it or making too much of it, right? So I'm going to give you a few minutes to tell us simply about yourself before we get to the meat of this interview.
Sure. Um, well, my name is Louise Russo. I've been married for 42 years and to a wonderful man named Sam. He's been my rock, honestly. I'm a mother of three. Um, our second child, Jenna, she has special needs. She needs 24-hour care. So this is what made it harder from the beginning when this happened. Um, I'm a strong advocate. I started when Jenna actually was just a baby. I became a parent, Easter Seals parent advocate, and was part of a pilot project that we did was conductive educations. And it's not like conductors for music. It's actually conductors that embody the whole person, especially when a child is disabled. Back in Hungary, that's what they used. Anyway, we could talk more about that. I've done so much. I've sat on the Special Advisory Catholic Board, Toronto Catholic School Board, sat on the Office for Victims of Crime for 12 years as an advisor to the Attorney General of Ontario. Started my own charity, So Wave, which we'll get into that. I started also and co-chaired the Canadian Coalition for Mobility Challenged Drivers because of what happened to me. I do peer support, which is really close to my heart for the Spinal Cord Injury Ontario, for those that are going through what I continue to go through. And I'm a strong advocate and a consultant for disability issues. So it's just a little thing in a nutshell.
Well. I already know why I can't leave you alone in my storytelling, right? Because you embody what not giving up is about. You embody what parenting from every angle is about. So now let's get to the reason why you have come into my life from a distance, right? So I'm going to once again give you the opportunity to tell us that story. I want you to tell it because I don't want to dilute it and I don't want to take anything away from it. I want people to see and feel the presence and also walk with us through everything you've done in spite of the difficulty. Tell us, Louise, tell us.
Um, it's, I mean, our life was very full and before, and like you and every other person, I'm just regular mom doing what I have to do and taking care of my kids and working full time. And life was full, but I found always time to volunteer, even on the Catholic school board and like I said, the Easter Seals, parent, committee. I just found that it was really important always to be involved in the community and to give back. And, you learn so much and, your lives are so enriched when you give back.
Yes.
Because you meet so many fabulous people like yourself too. And I just, so my life was, I would say, normal until this happened in 2004. And I was just going about my own business and going to an advisory board meeting, and I dropped off my youngest, who was 15 at the time, to it was the cadet. She was in the Air Cadets, and dropped her off. And she said to me that night, she goes, "Mom, please get home early because I need to be back and I have a lot of homework to do." And I said, okay. But I had a situation at one of the high schools I was dealing with that day that involved the special ed classes and stuff. So I really wanted some time to speak to the superintendent that night. So I ended up staying behind the meeting instead of leaving earlier and, discussing what I had to discuss with her. At the time, so just picking up my daughter, she was obviously very upset at me for being late, and teenagers have a good way of making you feel really guilty. So I said to her, "Hey, why don't we stop off at the sandwich, place? We had an early dinner. I'll pick up your favorite food, and you can bring the rest for lunch tomorrow." She goes, "Okay, Mom." So, and I thank God every day that she didn't come in with me. So we parked right in front and walked in, and all of a sudden, was just seconds, like literally seconds, because I just had placed my order, and I heard the strangest sound, and I heard like pew, 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 and I didn't know what was going on. I turned and I see a big hole, the glass was all broken, and I just saw, and things were going up. Bullets. I realized that very quickly they were bullets. I tried to get down, but obviously didn't make it on my own. And it was, everything darkened. Everything all of a sudden went silent. I was hearing crashing of glass, and I was hearing screams, and I was hearing table shuffle. And there was a group of men in a corner, and I hear them yelling. And there was a young group of boys, just a group of guys, right in the front of this the sandwich shop that also were screaming. But I was aware of all the sounds and everything around me. But all of a sudden, everything just went quiet. Everything just silent, and I never felt so alone in my life. And I felt something warm on my right hand. And I didn't know what it was. It's sticky. and I couldn't open my eyes. I just could not open my eyes. And I tried with all my strength. I tried to put my hand up and try to open my eyes, and I couldn't do it. And I felt myself being distant, detached almost from my body. And all of a sudden, I was in a really quiet place, and I had the most, in a moment of sheer evil, I
Mm.
had the most peaceful experience of that I will never forget. It was absolutely beautiful, and it was, I call it a near-death experience, and
Mm-hmm.
going through all of that, and then I experienced, I'll never forget the words. I'll just get to the end of it because it's quite involved. But the end of it was, I remember saying, I need to go back. I need to go back. I said, how will Sam do it with Jenna? How will he take care of the kids? How, he's a great dad, but he can't advocate for her the way,
Yes.
just the way I was doing it, I guess, because I was much more involved in that part of it. And the voice had said to me, Louise, your family's going to be okay. And I said, no. I said, I have to go back. And I'll never forget those words as long as I live. Said, if you choose to go back,
Mm-hmm.
you will have a very long and painful life ahead of you.
Mm.
And I said, no, I have to go back. It wasn't even a
There was
question,
no question. Yes.
but the peace I felt was incredible. It really was, and I have no fear of death ever since that experience. But coming back and
So
feeling,
let's hold on here for a moment. So you picked your daughter up. On your way home, you stopped by a sandwich shop, to get yourself and your daughter a sandwich. And whilst you're in the shop, after you placed your order, you hear gunshots. And one of the bullets hit you.
it was a
And
fragment of a bullet. The whole bullet, it was an AR military assault rifle. It would have blown me wide open. That was a fragment that ricocheted in my body.
okay, so it ricocheted in your body, and you found yourself from a lot of chaos to a place of peace where it seemed you were negotiating for your life. I'm getting goosebumps right now because there's a message there itself in the whole story, which I think we'll have to go to another time. Because I hear people say, I died and came back, right?
Mhm.
From what you're saying, it's as if you died and went, but you negotiated to come back to
Yeah,
your family. You negotiated under no circumstances to come back to take care of your family. Correct.
correct. I just felt, actually, it even shifted from the family. I just felt there was so much more
To
to do
do.
in this world. I said, I'm not done. There's so much more to do.
All right.
And, you know, yeah, instantaneously, I was back with the chaos that was the screaming and the glass shattering and the chair shuffling. I was right back to before I went to that peaceful
Reality.
place.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you were present again in your demise.
yes.
So tell me, so after you've been shot and you're back into the presence of all the chaos, then what happens?
I finally was able to open my eyes, and um, I saw there was just my right hand was in my blood. Obviously, that's what was the warm, sticky stuff. And
Mhm.
my first instinct as a mother and was my concern for Krista, my youngest. And
Yes.
I remember I tried to get up. I didn't realize, what had happened. I knew a shot, but I didn't
Were
know.
the paramedics there by then?
No, no, not then. No, it was. I tried to get up, and I couldn't move my legs or anything. And I thought, okay, I'm going to drag myself along the floor and to the door, and I couldn't find the strength. So I kept yelling and yelling out for somebody to help. And this man came up to me and asked me if I was okay. And he kept that repeating it over and over again. And I thought, at that point, I just said, you know what? Just please go see my daughter, see if she's okay. I said, and I told him which vehicle and everything, and he wouldn't listen. He just kept staring at me and asking me if I was okay. And I just left. I just started screaming my daughter's name and just screaming her name out. And then he said, "Is this your daughter?" And Krista walked in. My God, it's been 17 and a half years and it still affects me.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, he says, "This your daughter?" And I saw Krista standing at the entrance door, and she's very quiet, 15-year-old at the time, and she just let out a scream, and she says, "Mommy!" And I just raised my eyes and I said, "Thank you, Lord, for saving her. Thank you." And at that point, I said, "I can take on anything." I said, "I know she's okay."
And the paramedics were still not there at this time.
And I asked her to call her dad. And I said, "Call 911, call your dad." And I said, "Come and get my phone." You know, at that time, I am the only one who had a cell phone. And I said, "Take the phone." And she came over and I said, "And don't worry about the blood. It's just a little nick. I'm okay. I'm okay." And so she was shaking, obviously, and I wanted to comfort her and I couldn't go to her. But the guy I found out later that had come to me was the one who had set this whole thing up, the hit. I found out much later, and anyway,
and it all went wrong.
There's a lot of facets to this whole thing.
Oh no, there's like I can't begin to. I know that this 1 hour will not give us well, but I just want people to hear the story, right?
Yeah.
See the tragedy.
Yeah.
How it affected you and how you've gone on and made something beautiful out of it. So after your daughter called 911 and then called your husband, then what happened? Well,
obviously my husband drove there very quickly, and they wouldn't let him get through, but he made his way into towards the ambulance when they were pulling me in, and he said, "Do you know what you said to me?" And I said, "Not really." And he said, "You know what you said to me?" He said, "As they put you in the ambulance," he said, "You said, 'Don't worry, hun, everything's going to be just fine. I'm going to be okay.'" And I was taken to Sunnybrook emergency there, and it was I had a very very alert. I was very I remember it was chaotic in Emerge and the room, and I remember a physician with this blood. I guess they were going to do a blood transfusion. I remember looking up and saying to her, "I hope that's A positive blood." And everybody just went quiet and Emerge, and they just said, "Mrs. Russo, are you pretty sure about that? How sure are you?" I said 99.9. And they said,
"Here's the person who's been shot."
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure they gave me the right blood transfusion.
You were not about to die.
No, I had no intentions of it. And
you had already negotiated that. Nobody was going to kill you with.
No, not at that point, no. But anyway, a result of all of the injuries, I was complete. It's a T3-4, which is just under my arms, completely paralyzed, so I can't feel anything from there down.
So with that, with being shot in the sandwich store, you were now paralyzed from where?
Underneath my arms.
All the way down.
3/4 of my body is pretty much gone. Yeah. Yeah.
How old were you at the time?
45. Yeah.
But you seemed very alert and very cognizant of what was going on with you through it all.
Oh, through it all, yes, I was.
There was not a time where you didn't feel like I'm out of it, except for, of course, when you had to go and have a conversation with the heaven above.
Yeah.
to let heaven know that you're not ready to go. I think God was like, excuse me, we're going to have to talk. It's up to you and what you want. The reason I'm stressing that again, um are you a believer in God
Yes.
or in a higher power?
Yes. I'm not super religious. I'm more spiritual,
Right.
but I have, I just have a really strong connection, obviously, now more than ever.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm so grateful every day. Every day I'm grateful that, I'm here to, see my kid. And my son said it best. He came the next morning to see me. And I'll never forget this. He was lying. I mean, I was lying in bed. I had tubes everywhere. I was all swollen and it was horrible. I must have looked horrible. And he came and he was just beside me holding my hand. He was crying and he says, Mom, he was 19. He had, just turned 19. And he said, Mom, because I know what happened to you is horrible. He said, I know you lost the use of your legs. He goes, but I still have my mom. And those words
Yeah.
carried me through
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not what you do with your children, it's that you're present with them. You can have a
Yes.
conversation and talk
Mm-hmm.
to them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he gave me the strength to continue.
So at what point did they tell you that you had that paralysis?
Oh, pretty much right away, just came over. The doctor was, bedside manners could have been a little bit better, but he just came over because, you're never going to walk again.
No,
And I
I
said,
think he must have thought about it and thought about it and was like, I might as well just tell it like it is. Because I think doctors and nurses are always traumatized. That's what I think.
they, I guess they're realistic. But,
Yes,
it's not, I always say don't give up hope, never give the person, like, not everybody's in the right mind frame. I just said to myself, what are you talking about? I'm never going to walk again. I couldn't envision my life. I said, how am I going to take care of
exactly.
my child? How am I going to do all the things I do? Go on with my life and stuff. It didn't even phase me that I would, spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. I did. I
It
couldn't
didn't
get
even
there.
occur to you.
No, not at
So
all.
he gave you this information about you being paralyzed, right? And through it all with the tubes and all of that, being in the hospital bed and all of that, were you ever sad? Like, were you
Uh,
sad? You know
no,
what I mean?
I was just
It seems like you're
very,
present. It seems like you're present from the minute it happens throughout.
I mean, I've had my really difficult days, and it has not been easy. And I remember my husband coming, sitting too, and we were by ourselves, and he was broken, just broken. And he said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how are we going to do this? And I remember grabbing his hand and I'm saying, Sam, I said, the way you and I handle this is going to strengthen the roots in our children. I
Mm.
said, we need to be strong and we need to get through whatever we have to deal with to get through. We need to do it together. And he goes, okay. And I was just felt at that moment like I had to take on the role of encouraging. And I remember when,
Even with all the tubes and the pain you were going through, and in such a weird situation, you were still finding the strength and the courage to encourage your husband and
yeah,
the kids.
same with one of my good friends came in and both of them, they didn't know what to say to me and they just broke down crying. And I just felt like I always had to make people comfortable and at ease. And my mom was just, I remember my mom coming over and I said, Mom, can you please, I remember I couldn't lift my arm because the tubes were, I had IVs and all that stuff in my arm. And I said, Mom, what is over here? I said, it's itchy like crazy. What's here? And she goes, oh, don't worry. And the nurse goes, don't worry, dear. I said, stop telling me, dear, I'm worrying. I said, what is wrong with up here? What's here? I said, pull my arm up. So they had to help me, and I showed them, and they pulled they took parted my hair, and there was a big gash. The one of the bullets, I remember the bullet had just grazed my scalp, and only by, like, if I was even just a couple centimeters, it would have cracked, like, opened my scalp. And they went, oh my God, and and a clump of
But
hair.
they hadn't seen it.
No,
Oh
no,
my God.
no. No. And I said, I'm not going crazy. I know there's something there. I was thinking to myself, why aren't they listening to me? And so I got a little upset. And, I just decided I'm going to make the best of what I can do with what I have. And, from there, you got
Being
to
a
remember.
spiritual person, because some things are just, sometimes when you're going through something, it's so ridiculous. You know that there has to be a higher power with you. Because how is it that you've been shot, you're in the hospital, and they didn't see this gush that was here? You're the one that's feeling it and now telling them to check it for you. So would you say that in that experience, as tragic as it was, the heavens were with you on this journey right from the beginning? Could you say that?
Oh, for sure. I felt that, I felt something. My sister said something to me that I thought, what she goes, Lou, when you were wheeled into Emerge, I mean, she and my mom were there with my husband in the Emerge there. She said, I looked at you and I expected to see somebody who was just devastated. And she goes,
Yes.
I saw a glow in you and such peace. She goes, it was really, even my mom said, she goes, you were so peaceful, and you just had this quietness about you. Um, it was a very, and I've had that a few times happen. I've had that sense of, you know,
How?
calmness. Yeah.
Because even in me listening to you right now, all I see is strength from the moment it happened, right? Because somebody will freak out. I've been shot. Oh my God. Oh my God. But it seems like your senses were there. You knew what to do. You knew you had to fight to come back. You knew you had to negotiate. You knew there was no option but to come back. From what I hear, you came back, and even in the hospital, you encouraged your mom, you encouraged your husband, you encouraged your children, and then you guided the nurses and the doctors to this gush in your head. What I'm feeling is a spiritual connection which holds us together if we can hang in there. That's what I'm feeling right now. I don't know if you hear me.
Oh, I hear you. I always say through the grace of God. Yes.
Through the grace of God.
Yes.
Through the
Yes.
grace of God. So, how many months did you spend in the hospital, and what was that like?
Well, I was in the hospital it happened April 21st. And I ended up there. I was in the hospital for about 3 months, and then about almost 5 months in the rehab.
And what was that journey?
Uh, Rehab was, it was tough. It was a hard, but they pushed, and which I'm glad. So I decided to make the most of it. And what I did when I got to rehab is, actually in the hospital, just when I was in a regular room out of ICU, the social worker came, and I said, I need to connect with somebody who's, you know, who's paralyzed as a mother. I
Mhm.
need to see, I need to see someone. I need to talk to a peer person or a peer someone. And because of all the advocacy work I did with Easter Seals, I knew I needed to make that connection. So I'll never forget. It's a woman from spinal cord injury, Ontario, Yvonne came, and I remember her wheeling in. My mom was with me, and she was visiting at the time, and Yvonne had the most beautiful smile, and she came and she goes, "Hi," and we were talking, and and I asked her questions. Obviously, I was curious about a lot of stuff and what you can do independently, and do you drive? Do you do this? Do just a lot of stuff. And then she told me a little bit. I said, "Tell me a little bit about yourself," and she told me she had a daughter, and I said, "Oh, so you adopted?" Because she was injured quite young, and
Right.
she looked at me. She goes, "What?" And then she said, "Louise." She goes, "Why do you assume I adopted?" And I said, "Well, you're paralyzed." I mean, I didn't know a lot about paralysis at the time.
Exactly. Exactly.
She goes, "So are you asking me?" I don't know if this is a family show, but anyway, but she goes, "Are you asking me if you could have
Do the deed.
yeah?" And I said, and then my mother, it was so cute. My mom was reading a magazine, and she was further away, and she wasn't reading, she was listening. She put it down, she looked at me, and I just looked at her, my mom, and I said, "Oh, can we talk about this some other time when you and I are alone?" And then, so it was so funny. So we ended up on and she gave me hope. And I said, "I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to do peer support because I have to give someone hope." So I have to end this in a cute way. But my mom said, when Yvonne left, she goes, "Why would you let her stop talking?" She goes, "It was just getting good."
There you go. I can see where you get your feistiness from. But the beauty of it is talking about advocacy.
Yeah.
In your pain and in your sorrow, you did not give too much time to the sorrow. Neither did you give too much time to the pain. You were not denying it. You're the one that's feeling it. You're the one that has to go through the multiple surgeries. But something inside of you was looking ahead to living. Something inside of you was looking forward to living. But before we get to that, how many surgeries have you had to endure?
Well, actually, Anna, I didn't have any surgery. What happened was the bullet was a hole was the size of a quarter, and they had to fill it with some silver nitrate or something, and they had to pack it. So it was very painful going through all of that, and I had to heal from the inside out.
Yes.
I remember when I got to rehab, I wasn't able to lift my left arm. My left side is a little bit more like my arm is all from the third finger down. It's all still very numb. I still numb now, sleepy and everything, but I work it all the time. And, so I remember I couldn't lift my arm. And I said, I got to work this. It was a lot of, I had some great physiotherapists and stuff. I worked and worked and worked in there. I mean, I mean, if I was able to walk again, that would have been incredible. But, I had to build my upper body strength because I couldn't lift my head. I couldn't. It was horrible. But I remember there was a situation where I was in rehab, and I was much stronger than I had wheeled outside. It was a beautiful day, and I saw a woman around my mom's age just weeping and weeping and weeping, and two men, they were there. I think it were her sons, but so I kind of placed myself closer to her, and I didn't want to, and I just said to her, I said, "Whatever
Before
you're
you
going
go
through,
on,
you're going to be okay."
before you go on, were you in a wheelchair?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
So in a wheelchair, your life has changed drastically, right? And you're seeing somebody cry and weep,
Yeah.
and you wheel over to that person.
Right.
Tell me that story.
Um, her son had, just collapsed in the shower, and something happened. I don't know physically, and he was paralyzed. And it was her youngest son. And she just couldn't come to grips with that. Like, she was having a really hard time. And the
Mhm.
other two sons, they were trying to console her, so I
It
just went
wasn't
up and I
working.
just reached over and put my hand on her hand, and I just said, I don't know what you're going through or what you're dealing with right now. And I said, I don't mean to pry. I said, but whatever it is, you'll get better. I said, things will get better. And then she told me what happened to her son and stuff. And I said, oh, I like to meet him. So I went in and I talked to him, met him, and we became good friends. And up to now, we're still really good friends. And um, he always reminds me, he said, you gave my mom the strength she needed, the words she needed to hear to move and accept what happened to me. And it was because sometimes it's hard, I mean, there aren't magic words,
But
but
wait. Hmm. I'm listening to you, right? And I'm saying this was in the early days of your own accident. It wasn't like a year later, 6 months later, or whatnot, right? Would you say that? Because I don't know what I would do in such a circumstance, but I know sometimes I get very miserable. And in
Mhm.
those times when I'm miserable, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody to talk to me, right? This here, your whole life has changed. Your family's life, your children. You have a child who's challenged, who you were the full force in her well-being, but then you find the strength to reach out to somebody else who was also going through difficulty. Where do you think that comes from? Because sometimes I'm a very compassionate person, right? And sometimes I ask myself, in spite of everything I'm going through, why do I feel compassion towards others? So that's why I'm insisting on this. Tell me where that comes from, where yours was coming from. In spite of your pain, in spite of your sorrow, you were able to reach out to somebody else. Tell me where that comes from.
I know it's going to sound really silly, but during the day, I decided long ago in rehab that during the day, that was not my time for me to be feeling sorry for myself or to have pity for myself. I decided that during the day, I needed to work hard and to build up my strength and to socialize and watch others that have gone through this. I mean, that were further ahead, and I've have like my therapist, my recreational therapist. He was in a wheelchair since he was young, and I just listened to the positive things and how they got through things and what they were doing with their lives. And I was like, more than my able-bodied friends, I was in. Just I said, you're going to do this. But when at night, when my family left,
Mhm.
and I was alone, and the door was closed, I cried myself to sleep every night.
Yeah, yeah.
Every single night, I cried to myself to sleep. That the nurse made fun of me. The one time she said, when I left, she said to me, this pillow, she put up, she drew a happy face and she put Sam on it. And she goes, because I hugged it every night. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to get
No,
emotional.
no, 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 no. You know what? I want us to be real. I want us to, one of the things I want to come out of this show, of these things that I do, is authenticity. I
Yeah.
want us to know that vulnerability, it's okay, you
Yeah.
know? So it's okay.
But that's I know I just haven't talked about it for a long time, and
Yeah.
but I mean a lot of people don't know that. They always, like, I had comments being made to me from other people, like, like, what's with you? Why are you always smiling, and why are you always in the positive and stuff? And I just didn't. It was my. I just kept that very private to myself.
I've
And
had somebody say to me, you need to tone down your positivity.
yes, oh yeah, I've had that said that too many times. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know that I know exactly where you're coming from in that. But
So you
I
cried yourself to sleep at night and woke up in the morning and did what you needed to do.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you went through that, and then you are the founder of WAVE. Please tell us what WAVE stands for.
yeah. It's working against violence every day. Um, Shortly after I came home, I just felt, I don't know, it was just like I um, I remember waking up one morning shortly after I got home, and I was struggling at home. It was really tough. I mean, rehab is a different life because everything's accessible and, everything's there. It's almost like a little community. But then when you come home, the reality really hits and you can't reach
Mhm.
for things and everything. Anyway, I woke up one morning and it was early morning, and it's like something just came out. It said, walk against violence. And I went, walk against violence. It was like a voice had said, it's just something in my thoughts that came out. And I remember, walk against violence. I said, oh, for God's sake, I can't even walk. I said, what's this walk against violence? I said, absolutely not. I said, no way. I have enough to deal with.
So wait, Luis Russo, is it Italian?
It's my husband's last name. Yeah, he's Italian. Yes.
And you? Are you Italian as
Yes,
well?
yeah,
Now I get it. It's the Italian spirits.
yeah. I don't know. But it was it just came out of the blue first thing in the morning. I was still, I think, asleep, and the thought, and I always say it's God's whispers. I always say anyway.
Yes, yes.
But so I got out of bed and I did what I had to do, and I'm having coffee, and again, walking against violence, and I went, oh, for God's sake! And it's like I couldn't get this out of my head. And it
Yes.
was really bothering me.
Audible.
Then I thought, yeah, it was. And I said, okay, where is this coming from? And I
Mm.
said, I remember having a conversation. I know it sounds crazy out there, but within myself saying, okay, I don't know who to call. I don't know how to put a walk together. And they said, call your counselor. And I went, call my counselor. And I said, okay. So I called my counselor. So I said, okay, he's going to brush it off and that'll be it.
Mhm.
So I called the office and his assistant, oh my God, Louise, how are you? And stuff. And she goes, did you just get out of the hospital? I said, yeah, not long, too long ago. And I said, well, I have this thought. And I said, I don't know. I said, he's probably going to disagree with it, which is fine. So it was at the time was Counselor Giorgio Mamalidi. And I said, I want to do a walk against violence. I don't know what it encompasses. I'm not sure, but I just thought I'd bring it up to you. And she said, okay. She goes, okay, let me talk to him and I'll call you back. It didn't even take her 2 minutes. And I thought he was going to call back and say, no, not interested. He goes, oh, he loved the idea. And I said, are you sure? And I was like a little kind of disappointed because I'm thinking, I don't want to do this. Goes, yeah. And he says, no, let's do it. Let's meet. So we end up meeting a week later, and he just, they said, Louise, we love the idea and everything. So we had over, honestly, with the Toronto City Council, and the time was David Miller, and two chief of police came, Chief Blair, I think it was, and it was also, or Chief Fantino, I can't remember. And the other, there was another chief of police from York region. It was wonderful. He showed up, and so many of the different levels of government. We had 1,000 people. 1,000
Wow.
people. Yeah.
The first walk.
The first walk. Yeah,
So
we
this
actually
was
walked. They shut
was
down most of the Western Road, and
wow.
it was beautiful. Toronto police was involved. It was beautiful.
Did it give you chills?
I couldn't believe it. How many people came out? It did. It was like bigger than me. It was like this
Yes.
is big.
Mhm.
And as I was on stage, I and I looked at all these wonderful people that came out and to support the cause, and and support me to my family. I realized, I said, I got to do more. And I said, how do we reach young people? And my heart went out to our youth. And so I wanted to give out awards to youth that have demonstrated wonderful things that they've done in their own community, and also across Canada. And we had so many that we've given out through the years. And also, I started from there. I thought, what can we do more locally? And I'm trying to raise this awareness more so too. Is we started a Wave Youth Action Team.
Okay.
So, and it started in high school with this wonderful teacher, Nadia Pasquini, and she she took a leadership group, and so a topic of youth they chose the topic, they chose the age group, and they put together with the different students from grade 9 to grade 12. They put together like some graphic design, the technical part of it, some that wanted to be were presenters. It was amazing. And they would take topics like, for example, like cyberbullying or bullying in grade, like for grade grade 2s and 3s, and they would make it age appropriate, and they put a game together. And then we did things like the cannabis was just when that was legalized, that they did a whole presentation on that. They did a whole presentation on which I learned so much from, and we worked together with the Toronto Police. So we have some great community liaison officers that are involved, and amazing that they bring their perspective in. And for example, one young man, they said, if you flash and all that, and his girlfriend flashed, I guess, whatever, and then she sent him the picture, and he sent the picture to his friends. Do you know you could be charged with pornography, and by just having it on your phone? So that part of it. We also did for the younger groups, they did something about being off your devices for 24 hours. So they did competitions within the different schools within that area, because these groups also went out to different schools and presented. It was amazing. It's been an amazing run, and I can't wait till past COVID so we can start up again.
You know what I admire about you? You're like the energizer battery.
Yeah.
Keep going and going and going, and you do it with such grace. You're not saying that this didn't happen, right? You're the one that's living it. You're the one whose life has changed, right?
Yeah.
This affected your whole family. Your whole lifestyle had to change. How did your daughter, who you were with at the time, how has she handled it, and how has it affected her? And for that matter, everybody in the family. But because you were with her and because she has the challenge, how has she coped with it?
It was a very, she wouldn't talk about it for years. I was very, very worried about her. I would ask her friends to watch her, keep an eye on her. She went through a really difficult time. She felt, I don't know, for some reason, she felt guilty. It was her fault, some way that we stopped, and it was nothing to do with that. I am so impressed with the young lady, with all my kids, and how the resilience that they've developed. With her, she's such a strong, independent young lady. She actually is an occupational therapist now. She's yeah.
Nice.
Done amazing. She works a lot with the mental health aspect of it.
Okay.
My son has become very strong, and I'm just so proud of all of them. And my daughter Jenna, she's a blessing to the whole family, and she is she gives me the inspiration I need every day to continue. I see the limitation she has and the strength she has. It's incredible. And if it wasn't for my family, my sister Rose has been a pillar of strength. My parents, were just there all the time, and my husband was my rock through it all. And then
and your husband, let's all be grateful that he stood by you and has cared for you and has taken care of you the way it has. Because a lot of times the men don't get the praise that they need for the good things that they do.
it's
Right? So now your daughter, the one with the challenge, is she Jenna? She's
Jenna
Jenna.
is the second child, yes.
So Jenna understands what has happened.
I believe so. I mean, she's, got developmental delay. There's a limitation to, Jenna's world centers around Jenna's world and making
Right,
sure
right.
mom is her secretary or her I'm the one who arranges everything, puts things together, and but I'm impressed because she's come a long way. She
You
was
know, one of the things I know quite a few people who have children with developmental challenges, right? And I've made it a point to look at that relationship between them and their mom. It's as if they have their own special language, them and their mom, that only the two of them understand. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, she's nonverbal, but like her teacher used to tell me when she was in grade school, she was for the one who's the only nonverbal student in my class, she does the most talking. So it's great, but I would not be the person I am today, and I would if it wasn't for my faith, number one. It wasn't for my family, and I have really wonderful friends too, very close, that I keep to my heart. And also on a broader scale is the beautiful community. I mean, I've
Mm.
met some incredible people.
Amazing people when you put yourself out there.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I've learned that this is going to be really strange to hear, but I actually love, not that I would wish this on anyone to go through this, but I actually love the person I've become because
Mm.
it really made me look inwards and
Really made, and then it also, for me, when I see such stories or when I hear such stories, I realize how much we need each other
yes, yeah.
and how much life can be fleeting. Anything can change at any time, and talking to you, I'm getting strength, and I hope that anybody watching is also going to get strength. We'll have to share this as much as possible because there's a grace about you. There's a gentleness about you. There's a depth about you that I think anybody suffering or anybody who is a little too much and feels like they have no respect for people, they have no regard for people, need to hear such a story and to see that we can cause each other damage if we don't watch it. So whenever we're playing games, when we think we're playing, we need to think twice. So shot, whoever did this, have you ever met the person?
I met them in court. It was um, it was between Hell's Angels and the mob.
And then who is in the middle?
And I was in the middle of all of this. Yes, it was the strangest feeling when I saw it on, in the media. They had them up there, and then they had me in the middle, and I thought, I don't, no, no, no.
No, 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 no.
I've forgiven, but because I know I wasn't the intended target for,
Right.
but I don't forget, and I leave it in God's hands, to be honest with you, because what I experienced that night, I just
And
said,
still experiencing because now you're not walking.
yeah. I'm sorry, Anna. What did?
I said it's not just what you experienced, but what you still experience because you're not walking. You lost your mobility. There was a lot you could have done then, even though you've gone on to do other things, but there's a lot you've endured because of that.
Yes, and I just feel that now, I have to just be the best person I can be in the situation. And it's interesting, Anna, because I remember going to the mall with my daughter, and it's like you become invisible. Like, honestly, some people should just experiment and just put themselves in a wheelchair just to wheel around, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden see how you're treated. All of a sudden you're becoming invisible. I remember going to the restaurant with my family, and I'm talking to my family and stuff, and the waitress came up and said to my husband, what would she like to order?
What the?
Yes. And you treat it like a second class citizen in many situations. So now
Mhm.
my advocacy work is trying to highlight, things that I see that aren't being, we're treated as second class. For example, now we have this um, thing that, for example, I'm driving. I don't have anybody I can't safely get out of my vehicle to go get gas,
No.
you know? And, you can be honking your horn until you're blue in the face. Nobody's going to come. So we came across this thing called the Fuel Service app. It's free to download. And I co-chair it with my friend Eddie Rice, the Canadian Coalition for Canadian Drivers. And what we do is, you just go down in your app and you tell them a Shell station close by will go and tell you where you can go, and you go to the pump and you just key in what pump you're at, and they come out and they service you without you having to leave your vehicle. And it's great for seniors. It's great for parents with children with disabilities. Great for young parents with the little kids. They don't want to leave in the car. It's so I'm advocating on a lot of different things,
You
that
know,
are
you,
wrong.
yeah. This, you brought up something that I think we should bring you back on, you
Sure.
know, how to treat people with disability, the services out there, like you just mentioned. I think that is something we can do and we
Yeah.
must do because, I've never really thought about it. I've never really thought about it.
But you didn't have to. So
Ramps, simple things as simple as ramps, all of those things,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think I'm going to schedule you again, and that will be on that topic,
Sure.
to bring awareness to what needs to be done for us not to make people that are physically challenged invisible, for us to pay attention. I would love for us to do that. But in the
Absolutely.
meantime, this 1 hour has flown by like 5 minutes.
No, it has gone too quickly.
It has gone too quickly. But what I've gotten is a sense of peace, a sense of grace around what you went through. It has also given me strength to overcome and to look beyond the difficulties into what is coming next. So, Louise, from my heart to yours, I want to say thank you very much for agreeing to come on to share this with us. I know at times it was very emotional, but I want authenticity when we talk about these things. I don't want us to feel like we're so strong, we don't have to show emotions. So,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being you. Thank you for all the people who have supported you. Thank you for putting yourself out there and sharing your story and actually doing work to prevent violence. Thank you so much. I will bring you back again, and next time it will be on the topic of treating disabled people the right way.
I just want to say thank you very much. It was an honor to be on your show, and for all the wonderful work you do, and for bringing, some really hard topics out there so people could relate to and become more of a sense of awareness and educate, because we need that more than ever. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You all encourage me. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we've spoken with Russo, who turned 1 hour into like 5 minutes. At least that's what I think, just of the grace and calm that she comes with. So, whatever you're going through, whatever you're enduring, I pray that you would find the same grace that Louise has found to go through life. And until then, stay blessed, be encouraged, be inspired. Never give up. Louise hasn't. I wouldn't. So let's keep going. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
That TV.